It's recording with our news here with another anime discussions. This one is on another anime I saw this summer, and thank God I did. It's been recommended to me forever. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Now, if you haven't seen this, you're probably new to anime because everyone in the anime community, at least the majority, has seen it. Seriously, and yeah, I'm sorry if it's probably started off a bit unprofessional. To be fair, I'm never professional, but I'm using a new recording software because I don't know how to get the limit fixed on the other thing I was using. So Screencastify, it was good to me for the time, but I need to move on. This looks like it might be better. It's pretty helpful, but and the quality is a shit ton better. Look, see, no drop in frames. That's pretty impressive. But anyway, all right, back to the matter at hand. If you haven't seen Full Alchemist Brotherhood, I greatly recommend it. It was a beautiful series, incredibly well rounded. I just seriously check it out immediately. However, I can't say this for myself, but it's recommended to watch the first Fullmetal Alchemist, like the anime adaptation that went on its own before you watch Brotherhood, which follows the manga. They say if you don't watch Fullmetal Alchemist first and you watch Brotherhood first, you might not enjoy the first one so much. But I watched Brotherhood first, and I am planning on watching out the first FMA anime pretty soon. Actually, I'm about to finish the series, and after that, I'm gonna get started on the other Fullmetal. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I have heard a shit ton about this anime. No kidding, like, I've heard about this for years. I've heard about it before I was even really big into anime. My friend loved it, told me about it. I was really confused by the whole concept of Brotherhood because I never heard of anything like that. I used to think that there were just two different seasons, but my friend kept saying, watch Brotherhood first. And I did get around to it because it was, like, obviously the most loved. And it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I'm not even going to lie. It truly was such an amazing world. It had such great characters. Pretty much one of the main things about it is, like, the ending in general. Because I know it's a bit early to be talking about the ending, but the ending of Full Alchemist, I was so sad. It wasn't even really a sad ending. It's the fact that I loved it so much and it's over, and the fact that I know it's it couldn't have gone better. Like, I was sad because it was such a good ending. It was perfect. I felt okay, maybe nothing's truly perfect, but it felt that way. It didn't really feel like it needed anything else. Anything else added on would have just been like for the money. It wouldn't have felt like it was necessary. It ended in such a great way, and you want more, but adding more would take away from it. So you're just sitting here, just like wondering, what do I do with my life? It's such a that's what I love about anime, especially really good ones. It gives you such a heartwarming yet crushing feeling. Like, it's a mixture of loss and yet you've experienced something great that no one can ever take away from you. Still, this show always had a super cool concept to it. Alchemy is very similar to, like, magic, but it's more like the scientific equivalent of it, which I found very interesting. And my friend always told me a lot about it. He gave me some misinformation, for one thing. One thing he told me that I was super disappointed about in the ending was that it was possible to bring people back from the dead. It may be possible with a Philosopher's Stone, but what I heard was as Hohenheim kneeled before their mother's grave and died, I knew he was going to do that. He even showed me a clip of that at one point. But what I thought was, with his last, like, energy, the last energy he had left, he used it to revive their mother. That's what I heard, and that the mother would get him back, and the father would pass on from this world, which I found sad but fair. And it never happened. The mother never came back, and it's funny. The whole focus of the series was to, like, get, even though it mostly was to get their bodies back, and they sort of did. It was also about their mother, and that just turned out to be an impossibility. That was really sad. Now, a lot of people, when comparing this show, saying that the first FMA, like the first anime for it, was more serious, and that the FMA Brotherhood series is very comedic, very shonen, and just like the silly little skits. I'll admit, some people say it took away from it. I don't think it did. In fact, it was a bit ridiculous. I get it, but it also, I had to admire Brotherhood for how well they did it. They made such a brilliant, serious, and compelling story while still managing to throw comedy in there, and it it's funny and it doesn't really take too much away from the show. If anything, it kind of added to it because it like took these lighthearted breaks and then it ripped your heart out in another scene. It's super well done. At least that's just my opinion on it. Also, hopefully, this doesn't have a recording limit. It didn't come with anything like that, but I'm just bringing that up now. And also, the soundtrack and the characters were amazing. Talk about the music. It had a really good soundtrack. Like I'm normally that person who pays too much attention to the background music because I'm so engrossed in the story. But even then, I still could recognize just how good the music in the background was, how good it fit the situations. It was very well done, and every opening was great. Like I've seen so many openings for so many series that had a couple, and they're like, "This is good," but the other's not as good. Give me a sec. All right, I'm back. You might notice I changed scene a bit because right now my lamp in my room is broken, so I'm typically in my parents' room when I record. But my parents just came home, so I'm giving them their space. I did just get a lamp, so it helps the lighting a bit, and it helps a lot. But I'm just trying to keep it down because of the people in the house now. Anyway, as I was saying, like there's so many like good theme songs in anime that kind of get replaced later on, and they're just never as good. A lot of people would argue the same way because people love the first one again, and I do love it too. But like say Kogias, which had colors, and then it had that other one. I can't remember the name of the second one. It grew on me eventually, but it wasn't that good. The only one I ever had to kind of grow on me was the third one, and even then, that was still pretty good. It was just a very different vibe for Fullmetal Alchemist, and it was super interesting. Just like all the scenes, like the first one had a really nice sound to it, and it had some really good imagery, kind of like foreshadowing things. The second one, I was talking to my friend about this before when I watched the show. It was really good, but it was mostly action scenes, and it was just kind of epic. It didn't have any really good imagery or meaning behind the background. And then the third one was a decent sound, very jazzy, I kind of feel. It was very different, like I said, but it also had good background images. Because that's another good thing to judge when it comes to openings. It's not all about the song. And the fourth one, period, is by far my favorite. I really liked Again a lot, and I love the other ones, but period was just the best to me because it had the action and like cool factor of hologram, which was the second one, and yet it had the emotion and the imagery of like the first one, which was Again, I believe, yeah. And then the fifth one, Rain, is my friend's favorite. I can see why he likes it. It's a very different one. That one was kind of strange to me. It kind of reminded me of Again in a bit, but it really screamed Full Metal Alchemist with the tone of it, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was a great. It was just every bit of it was really good. All the soundtrack, all the openings, I love them, and I listen to them constantly. And I have finished Full Metal Alchemist months ago, probably like 3 months by now, but it's still I still wake up sometimes and I still like dream about it and think this is a world that I want to be a part of. It's something that really drew me in, and that must have happened with a lot of people. People love the series, and it makes a lot of sense why. It had good action. It had very interesting storytelling. It could get dark, but it could also be comedic. It had like really good characters. I have to say, Von Hohenheim is probably one of the best designed anime characters I've ever seen. His backstory was insanely good. He was super well developed, and it was just so genius. I never heard such an interesting and complex character. He was my favorite character by the end of the series, without a doubt. I loved him. He was so cool, and it was interesting how they made him very overpowered because of his abilities, but he wasn't much of a fighter either, so he wasn't this crazy OP plot device. Even though he was very critical to the ending, he wasn't something that was like unstoppable, which can really ruin a lot of shows. And for the characters, every one of them felt lovable. A lot of people said you didn't get enough time to build up and love May Hughes. They said they gave him more time in Full on Alchemist instead of just Brotherhood. But god damn it, despite the little time they gave you, you still cared. I'm still not over that death. I still want him back. He was my favorite character at the start. He was so funny and cool, and then they killed him. It broke my heart. Man, it was awful, dude. It really was. Full Alchemist was not a super sad anime, but it had a lot of those moments, and that's really respectable. It's good to have a good emotional vibe. It's good to keep your people invested in the show you're watching. And you had other people like Roy Mustang. Roy Mustang was such a badass. He had a really big weakness, but it really never came at it. That's kind of something that I feel should have been a thing, where his powers failed him because of the whole rain thing. He can't light sparks or cause fire. I feel like that kind of rain weakness, where he can't use his alchemy in the rain, should have came at an important part, like his powers failed him. Although I guess that way is a cliche. You have this OP ability, it fails you, and then you have to get saved. But even then, I feel he should have had a moment of weakness. He was pretty badass from start to finish, and it's very interesting how overpowered flame alchemy is. It might be, probably is the strongest form of alchemy. It's the only alchemy destroy a um that can destroy a homunculus effectively, and it's so insane. I had chills when he killed like a lust and envy, dude. Like I remember looking up afterwards when I watched it. I looked up the envy fight, and I remember hearing, oh god, sorry. I remember hearing in the comments that wasn't a fight, that was annihilation, and that is so true. Like I'm not even kidding. It was not even a fight. He did not fight back. He didn't get the chance. Envy was just being tormented, and it was, in a way, kind of funny and comedic, but it was also incredibly fucked up. Like I was kind of, oh my god, like it was a little funny, but it was so dark I couldn't laugh. Like when he said, "What is wrong with you? You just burned your best friend," dude. That line is still stuck in my head. That's so messed up. I mean, it is true. May Hughes was dead, and so it didn't really matter. But it was also so damn dark. I felt bad for Envy at the end of it, despite he was being such an asshole. He became like a character you pitied, and that was really well done. Is everything about it? A lot of people say the pacing's really fast in Alchemist, like in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, especially in the first like 13 episodes. And I can see what they're talking about when you said if you haven't seen the first FMA, you don't really notice the pacing or it doesn't seem fast to you. It seemed pretty well done to me. Like a lot of things was coming at me, but I was absorbing it very well, and it was introduced pretty interestingly. I liked how they did it. And another thing, my memory may be wrong here, but at the very start, they had an episode in Brotherhood that was meant to foreshadow, and it was unique to the anime. It was the only thing that was unique to Brotherhood and wasn't part of the manga. It's when that ice alchemist scene, and where he made a city-wide, like kind of a citywide transmutation circle. That kind of thing kind of led me some context clues and kind of foreshadow what was going to happen with the entire country. I kind of figured it out a little bit ahead of time, but it wasn't something where I was like, oh, I immediately knew what was going to happen, and that's good because there's a lot of stories that they leave you the clues for you to figure it out for yourself, and that's good. But they shouldn't make it so you can figure it out really early on. If that happens, it kind of ruins the surprise effect. It kind of ruins the pacing, and that's kind of something that people complain about with Erased. I will normally don't try to think too much with those kind of series. I do like to think in mysteries, but I also don't like putting it all together because I kind of want to just see where it goes from there, and I would more likely analyze it in a second watch. But this was still just such a great anime. Something I can never forget. It was one of the best things I've ever seen, and it has taken place. Now, it's not my number one. High School DxD is still my number one because I would think it wouldn't be. I thought that FMA would take over it, but then I rewatched it this summer, and it just all the reasons I loved it kind of came back. Like a lot of people, like High School DxD was just so funny, had good action, an interesting story, and like the fan service was good too. So it just I don't know what it is, but it's just such a lovable show to me. But what used to be my second favorite, The Fruit of Grisaya, is now my third, with the second being Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And it really deserves that place because it's such a good show. I also made a My Anime list that I think I'm probably gonna link in the description below because in case you want to see all the things I've seen about. There's still some I know I've forgotten and I need to like put down, but for the most part, I got the majority of my anime that I've seen, that I've completed, and that I've left behind. I've completed a little over 50 anime so far, and that's it's not bad. It's definitely not in the hundreds like some of my friends are, but I've seen a lot of good ones, and I feel quality over quantity. You know what I mean? And I'm really reluctant to get into long anime series. That's kind of what held me off from this so long. Like One Piece, my friend loves it, but it's gonna take me ages to get to it. He just caught up, and he's been watching that show for 2 years. Maybe one day I'll watch it, but it still has 10 years in the running. It's overwhelming to even think about it. But Fullmetal Alchemist wasn't too long for what it was, and it wasn't too short. It was really good and well worth my time. And it's definitely well worth anyone's time if they haven't seen it yet. They have listened to this because they don't care about spoilers. I feel it's best to go into any anime show blind, especially one as good as this. But in fact, it probably wouldn't make much sense if in the context I'm using, because I'm not really explaining the format. I'm just talking about random things about it. So if you probably wouldn't get it if you haven't seen it. And I'm sorry if you hear my brothers in the background; they're super irritating. But whatever. Thoughts on Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood? Super great show. I definitely recommend it, and I can't wait to see what FMA has to offer, just the original, because I heard it's also really good as well. Some say it's better. I severely doubt it because I at least know a good amount of the premise, and I seriously can't see them topping it. But even still, I will give it a shot. I will judge it fairly, and I will watch it through. A few other things you might expect from the future: that Parasite the Maxim, that was a great show that I finished over the summer. Another one is Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. I think I did make a discussion on that. I did finish that. And another one being, I'm actually watching another right now, and I'm about to finish Donsai Boomer no Crime Edge, which has been such a strange show, but it really started capturing my interest later on. But all right, I've been talking for way too long. This is getting a bit ridiculous. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, smash that like button for me. Subscribe to Part New Ride today. And tell me in the comments below what you think of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, if you agree with anything I said, if you had any thoughts on it. I love to hear them. And thanks again. See you next time. Peace.